Our next program is here all the way from Texas. You can tell we're moving west into Central Time. I can tell some of you are from Texas as well. AVANCE-Houston is led by Jose Villarreal, who has worked in the nonprofit sector for over 30 years and has extensive experience as a senior executive. Jose currently serves on the United Way Board of Directors and has served on many nonprofit boards, such as Career Recovery and Resources, Gulf Coast Workforce Board, American Leadership Forum, San Jacinto Council of Girl Scouts, and others. He chaired the Minority Affairs Committee of the American Public Transportation Association and the Gulf Coast Economic Report Card. He's done lots of work. Jose has participated in the American Leadership Forum and the inaugural class of Leadership Houston, and was recognized for distinguished service by the Mexican Institute of Greater Houston and SER Jobs for Progress. Since 2006, Jose has been executive director of AVANCE-Houston, but perhaps most notably, if you've seen a video from their recent Global Cardboard Challenge, he's in a band of local education leaders, which you can ask him about later. Jose is joined by Antoinette Montgomery, AVANCE-Houston's Senior Director of Head Start, and she has over 18 years' experience working with children and families. She's a licensed master social worker and volunteers as a field education instructor for the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work. She's been part of the AVANCE team for 15 years. Please welcome Jose. Oh, please welcome Jose and Antoinette.
So thank you very much for that introduction. I only gave you half my resume because if I gave you the whole resume, you would say I'm older than Mr. Hogan over here, but I'm actually, thank you very much for talking. That was also very inspirational comments. Also, I'm very pleased to be here with a number of AVANCE representatives, and we are a national organization. We have 8 chapters in Texas that are what I call full-fledged chapters, and we have 8 affiliates around the country. Our national CEO is Rick Noriega. Rick is here in the audience, so I want to welcome Rick. Thank you very much for joining us, Rick, and then some of his staff from the national office is here also. Rick formerly was a state rep, and I want to mention this because it's pertinent to what's going on in all the local issues here, with national issues and local issues in Texas. Rick sponsored a bill called House Bill 1403, which it was around 1997 or 99, I forget the exact date. As you know, I've known Rick for a long time. And so House Bill 1403 actually allowed immigrant children, undocumented immigrant children, to attend. I know because I was working at the community college and state at district or in-state tuition rates. So what you see right now, you hear it called the Dream Act, et cetera. The original act was House Bill 1403 in Texas, and I always acknowledge Rick for his consideration of undocumented immigrants and their right to go to school in Texas and the university. So thank you, Rick, for the and I think you were in the legislature for about 10 years? Yes, so thank you. So next I want to tell you is, I'm taking a little bit of a poll because I've heard the previous speaker. So how many of you have you run Head Start programs and you run them in the schools? Do you have sites in the schools? Okay. And then some of you also, many of you, maybe all of you have independent freestanding sites also? Correct, all right. And then how many of you have sort of multiple programs, trying to build we call it wraparound. Sometimes to us the wraparound is never complete, but the wraparound as much as you can, right? You have other grants that allow you to do support. So that's good. So this particular presentation is based sort of on all those concepts. It's multi-generation, it's wraparound services. We're in school sites, we also have independent sites, and we also have partnership with charter schools. So it's a little bit of everything. So I think some of you can relate to that. And I think the other thing I want to say is, I love all the presentations today, and I love that all of you came together because all of you, from your own experience, you are very resourceful. If you've been around as long as Mr. Hogan and myself, because I actually applied for a job in 1966 at Head Start, by the way. So, there's you have to be very resourceful. And I also believe in the same concept that sometimes you don't have the money for a service, but you started anyway, right? You started with volunteers, you started with somebody else's money, and you bring them into your building, and eventually you get donations and contributions. We are, in Houston, we're very fortunate in that the business community has been involved with social issues, I know with early childhood education, with workforce training programs. Since the early 80s, it was called the Private Sector Initiatives Task Force, made up of corporate CEOs, but they've always engendered this culture of corporate involvement in the nonprofit world. So we kind of benefit a lot from that particular philosophy in Houston. So what I want to tell you is I want to also thank National Head Start Association for inviting the papers and for giving us a chance to be part of this presentation. Let's see. I have my notes and my battery's running out, so I'm going to be short. All right. So I think here you go. So AVANCE has been around since 1973, and it's an agency that grew out from one of our programs called the Parent-Child Education Program, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. So the parent-child is the centerpiece of everything we do. The parent and two-generation is always, it's part of our values, it's part of our culture, it's part of what we live and breathe. We also live and breathe the fact that all our program services are family-centered, so we have families in different kind of conditions, right? Some single heads of household, married families, extended families, but the family is always the centerpiece of what we do. If you're like me, right, I think some of you are like me, it's because you're Head Start directors. So you have a short attention span, right? We handle a lot of issues. So I'm going to tell you one of the advantages of having parents engaged and two-generation programs is you get to this. So I'm going to flip over to slide number 9, because I know some of you like to get to the end and see what's going to go on here. So slide number 9 says, at the very top in red, can somebody read that for me? And then, no, but read the red line. Our third grade performance was actually exceeded the school's performance rate. So I know that's a significant thing for all of you. So that is the first argument for getting parents engaged and having multi-generational programs, right? Two-generation programs. You're going to get the parents involved, so it's going to impact how the child performs in school, but it's also going to impact the lifestyle of the parent. So the second, go back to, I think it was slide number 3. One more. There you go. So how this kind of came to light to us and how this began to make sense is we had a strategic plan in 2012, which basically said, the strategic plan, go back to strategic plan. So there you go. The children, our children must be school ready, and all our parents must be self-sufficient. And kind of the same kind of conclusion. We've been working on this in this field for a long time, and I've been working with anti-poverty programs for a long time. And we really do, when you're doing job training programs or Head Start programs or education programs or recruiting minority students for the college through talent or whatever program you're working with, we kind of work with one slice, right? And we hope we pass them on, and we hope they do well at the next slice. We hope they go on to GED. We hope they go on to college. But really, our job is to get people out of poverty. That's our challenge. And so regardless of what your grant requires, you can fulfill your grant requirements, but you still got to move people out of poverty. And so sometimes your grant administration of your grant doesn't give you that much room. So you got to find other ways to get there. So AVANCE is curriculum. I'm going to go to the next slide. So first, AVANCE starts out with the Parent-Child Education Program. The founder of that and the partner with us when we developed that program was in 1973 was someone named Dr. Yuri Brofenbrenner. And Dr. Brofenbrenner was also one of the contributors to the design of Head Start back in 1964, 62. And the other person that you associate with Head Start is the president at the time. Some of you may not remember. Who was it? Anybody remember who was president when that Head Start bill was passed? LBJ, whose initial teaching experience was in a little small rural town called Cotulla, Texas. So that experience teaching Hispanic or Mexican American children at the time generated the power to kind of continue with the development of the Head Start concept. So Parent-Child is really a 30-week parent education course that focuses on the parent being engaged with the child. The parent and the child are in class at the same time in the same building, as you described earlier. The 27-week course includes parenting, physical needs of the child, children's behavior, prenatal care, infant needs, nutrition, cognitive needs, to name a few. We will have a table tomorrow that explains the Parent-Child Education Program in more detail, and you can talk to Elida and Luz and some of the other staff that will be there tomorrow. They will give you a little bit more information. But we've connected then Parent-Child Education later on in Houston in 1999 to Head Start, because what that does is Parent-Child is designed for parents with children 0 to 3. And so in order to be able to then say we want to continue their education, we connected to preschool, we connected the children to, we secured a Head Start grant that allowed us to move the children into preschool programs. We also secured ESL, GED, those types of grants that allowed us to be able to have the parents continue. So The children are in also an early childhood education setting, and in the last couple of years, we began to make sure we align that curriculum with what the school's curriculum is using, as well as what the Head Start curriculum is aligned to the local school districts also. So if you go to the next slide, so let me give you a little bit about, and I always have to have, the curriculum we use for parent-child is the creative curriculum. Okay, so some of you are familiar with creative curriculum? Okay, a couple of hands there. So, and the reason is that parent-child is really a 1 day a week. So when they move, and we were actually asking parents, put your child in preschool. You have to put your child in preschool, especially with our parent-child education program. It is 100% Latino immigrant, or I'm sorry, close to 100% Latino. It's about 80 to 85% Latino immigrant population, Spanish language only at home. So we really emphasize, you need to put your child in preschool. Learning English is another area of instruction that we also emphasize. In the total population of the composite of all programs, the aggregate of all the programs at AVANCE-Houston is about 74% Latino and 24% African American, 2% other. So then in the PCP, I mentioned Latino. So then what we have is we created, the icon that we like to use is this holistic model icon, that all programs have the same value. It's not one program on top of priority or the other, but all programs have the same value. And so we're equally concerned and dedicated to making sure that the generations pass on to the connection, or that we also are as loyal to the GED program as we are to the parent-child program. We care about each one because we have to have successes in all of those. What we believe in the two-generation model is that in the two-generation culture, the holistic model preserves those values and organizational values. So the culture of the organization is family-centered. You build up the self-esteem of the family, and you also make sure that as you move people into Head Start, early Head Start, GED, you continue to emphasize the parent involvement with the child. That's a very important concept. So the organizational values are preserved, and we move on to as we move on to the other programs. So what you see in the wheel are all the programs we offer, and I want to mention Healthy Marriage, because the Healthy Marriage allowed us to add a segment in there for it's workforce and job prep services. It includes job training services, which we subcontract to an organization called SER, Jobs for Progress. So SER is predominantly workforce programs, and some of you have SERs in your communities. It's been around since 1964, as a matter of fact. I worked at SER at one time, so that's why. And so I told you I was old, So SER is kind of our subcontractor doing job placement, job etiquette, and then also the job training. We also work with the community college. My previous experience at the community college in workforce. And so we were able to kind of connect the community college to some of the services that we have here. So they're part of the subcontract. But what's happened is, next Monday, February the 1st, so last September, we got a workforce grant to provide our own training in-house. So, and this is very basic general office administration skills, which means it's very basic skills for our parents who graduate from GED. And so we have another grant for this semester, and we are also pending another workforce grant. So we're actually setting up a workforce site for Avance, which is in the same neighborhood we have most of our centers. So the workforce site is going to allow us to refer some of our own families into that particular track. So we're very proud of that, and that'll be February 1st. It's kind of like the hotel. They're getting the building ready, and we're going to be there February the 1st, regardless. So I think we got about 5 or 6 people at the building right now. So next slide. So the research findings on two generations. So this is a research project that was sponsored by the national office, Rick's office. So we contracted with an organization called IDRA, I-D-R-A. And if you want to talk about just sort of relating to age, I remember IDRA when they were doing board training for community action agencies back in 1968 or 1969. They become a research agency. They developed very good skills in doing research and tracking students in Texas. They do a contract with the state of Texas that tracks all the students that graduate from high school, and they call it attrition rates. So they track them from freshman year through high school. They've been doing it, I think, for about 15 years, and it's throughout the state. So the school can't say, well, they moved out of town. That's about 95% of all the students in the state. So, but IDA did a study for us. It says that 93% of the children were school ready when they left for school because their parents were engaged with them. We also know that we're getting 90% graduation rates from the parent-child program itself. That compares to 67% graduation rate in the state of Texas for Latino and African American children. It also says of the families enrolled in it, when they come in, a lot of the families are unemployed. There's a 127% increase in employment. And then I've got a figure that says 40% of all families, this is, I think it was about 300 people in the survey, and it was covered 10 years experience with Avance. So 40% of them move on to additional educational levels. Most of the families are in ESL and GED, so they continue to move on, but most move on from GED to graduation and to community college. And so now I'm going to go to the next slide. So the 90% graduation rate, I always like to use this slide from the Dallas Avance, which has been tracking their parent-child program results for the last, I think it's 12 years. And so they're showing attendance rates of 97%. And so the conclusion there, or the correlation is, if you go to school every day, you're going to graduate, right? So that's the basic requirement. You got to be in class. But we know because of the parent engagement, the children are attending school. Next slide. So then we've contracted with the school district, and Mr. Hogan was correct. You got to have a good relationship with the school district. So the school district is doing, and I have to commend Houston Independent School District because they're doing a really in-depth, long-term tracking study for us. It's a 10-year tracking study, and what they're showing is that the Avance kids, there's four, I want to say there's 4 Head Start grantees, but they were able to note that in the Avance Head Start, we retained their, obviously, and exceeded the third grade advantage, right? This is in reading. There's several tests going on. So when we go to kindergarten, we're all kind of in the same, within the same standard deviation, or within the same, the numbers are about the same. But at third grade, the retention, we saw that it was retained. And then next slide, we're very proud of our math curriculum. About 4 years ago, I think, or 5 years ago, there was a grant that we picked up to do math and science at preschool levels, and so we hired some teachers, and we changed the curriculum. So the math is going back. So the math is going back and showing up. And Emily, thank you for mentioning the cardboard challenge, because we saw it as a STEM project also. So and it's a way to get parents engaged with math and science at preschool level. Most parents will tell you, I don't know anything about math, and I don't know anything, but they can get involved with math and science if it's a creative approach. So that cardboard challenge was just really unique. So those are our results. So now we're all kind of touting the literature that says, math is a predictor of high school graduation. But, how many of you believe that math is a better predictor, or reading? Anyway, I know it has, but right now we believe that one. So, so go to the next slide. So you read the first one, the impact of the third grade academic room was significant and evident. We were dying to get the word significant, as you know. So the next one says, economically disadvantaged students from Avance attended higher mean scale scores in the district, mean scale scores. And the next, let me go down, not the slide, and then economically disadvantaged students from Avance may have acquired significant academic benefits from the Head Start program. Next slide. And then the result is opposite. It's opposite of the fade-out phenomenon to Head Start, and you have the study there. To better understand the fade-out issue of other Head Start agencies, an additional study is recommended to examine the program. So the school district wants to come to see what Avance is doing different, to be able to see how scores can be improved in the school. So now what I'm going to do is pass this on to, also want to acknowledge by Yvette Fuentes is here. I wanted to, Yvette, if you would raise your hand. So we are so proud of Yvette and the work that she's done for Head Start, and the way she's advanced a lot of the standards that we're saying. So it's not just us, it's us in the school, but Head Start is also the one that's pointing us to, you got to get some standards, you got to meet some standards, and you got to show how you're school ready. So, and you know about the school ready piece in Head Start standards. So Yvette, thank you for that. So the way we approach this particular model that you're going to hear about from Antoinette is, we actually started working with our GED students to say, we got to do more than GED, we got to pass them on to college. So we started passing them on to college, and we have a college enrollment rate from GED of about 60 to 70%. It's actually higher than the schools, And they go into community college primarily, although vocational training and skills training is what we're doing, is also in the package. And then the other piece is, we had an initiative about a year ago called Building a College-Bound Culture. Building a college-bound culture didn't apply just to the children, but the children, the parents, right, the employees, everyone that's involved with Avance. In fact, one of our successes in building a college-bound culture is the next speaker, Antoinette. She's working on her doctorate in education, so I want to give her a hand for working on the doctorate as part of that college-bound culture. So that's part of our culture, and we believe that. So Antoinette, I'm going to turn it over to you to speak about the actual model itself.
Okay, good morning. In 2010, we enhanced our GED program. We decided to call it GED on the Move. And we did this by adding a component designed to transition our graduates, our GED graduates, from our program on to college or a vocational setting. We solicited the help of our local partners and local colleges, particularly a community college that we have a good relationship with. We work with the colleges to help educate the parents about college resources available, such as the programs that they offer, as well as how to apply and navigate the college system, and financial aid, of course. We even partner with the local college to help design a program specifically for Head Start teachers, a degree program for Head Start teachers. And many of those parents went on to take advantage of that program. We work with our local corporations to develop a mentoring program, which has been a big success. We call it CPALS. It stands for Corporate Partners for Adult Literacy. And so basically what that is we have volunteers that come from different corporations, and they partner with our students throughout their time in the program and just educate them. They do some shadowing, they talk to them about different career options, and just kind of act as a cheerleader for the program. In our partnerships with some corporations, we were able to also establish a $500 scholarship for any student who graduated with their GED or high school diploma and then demonstrated that they had been accepted to a college. In 2013, we decided to take our program further, and we decided to focus on our early Head Start teen parents. And so we turned our attention to them, and we started what we call a pilot program. We currently operate an early Head Start program that's located on a high school campus, and it's with the Pasadena ISD School District. And we've been partnering with this district for a number of years, and it just made sense to move our students further. Also, the district had an initiative as well to get their level of high school graduates up, and so the partnership worked out well. We identified all of the teen parents and started communicating with them about our initiative. We started working with their school counselors, as well as a program called Communities in Schools. And that program is designed to help support students transition throughout the school system. Last year, we worked with 11 seniors. Each one of them graduated from high school, and 64% transitioned on to college. This year, we expect to work with 18 parents and expect them to graduate from high school and then pursue either college or vocational training. So we've started that work. We based our pilot project in part on our community assessment data. When you look at our community assessment data, you see that we have a real case for targeting these teen parents. In the Houston area, it's estimated that approximately 25% of the high school students drop out. I've seen the rate as high as 33% for the state of Texas. For the target area that we serve, the teen pregnancy rate is approximately 44%. Most surprisingly, many of these teens go on to have additional children before graduating from high school. Another issue for our community is the limited child care opportunities for infants and toddlers due to high cost and limited enrollment. And the last number, which further justified our need to do something targeted for our families, was the low rates of college retention for minority students. In the Houston area, of the students that are graduating or transitioning on to college, a large majority of them are requiring remedial courses once they arrive upon admission, and only 19% of them are actually finishing college. And these statistics are primarily with our community colleges, which tend to have a higher rate of loss of retention. As you can see, there's a real need for us to better support our teens in our community. We believe that parent engagement equals student success. And so one of the things we had to do when we started, we looked at our community assessment data, but we also looked at what strengths we had as a program, what strengths our parents had, as well as areas that we needed to grow in. And we started off with the greatest strength being our existing Early Head Start program. We're fortunate to have an Early Head Start program. This gives our children, our 0 to 3 children, an opportunity for high quality early development. We also have the opportunity with our program to work with those parents on developing child development skills and parenting skills. For the pilot project, though, we had to really shift our focus, and we had to start talking with the parents about their own futures and careers. We did this in partnership with, like I said, with Pasadena ISD, who has a vested interest in seeing that the students graduate from high school and then transition on to college. We also utilized our case management system, which is well developed with experienced staff. And because of this, we feel like the family service workers did not have much difficulty transitioning to this new mindset. Our relationships with the community partners was also a great strength. And another advantage that we had was just our parents' interests. Our parents wanted to graduate. They've expressed it to their staff. And they even come in there asking for help with school, tutoring, things like that. So we knew the parents wanted to. They just might not have known the next step to get to the college level. So for the areas that we felt like we needed to work on, when we first came up with this idea, we had our whole system in place. We provided all the components of Early Head Start and Head Start, but we did not have a real targeted approach for how to navigate and support students' transition from high school onto college or a vocational setting. So we started formalizing our system to help parents transition, and we did that in part through our partnerships with both the colleges and corporations as well as the independent school district. We also identified the need to help build self-esteem of our parents, convince them that they could go further than high school. And we did this through the exposure of college, through testimonies of individuals who had been successful, and we worked to just build their confidence. We wanted to provide them with access and education about resources available and vocational programs as well. And then finally, we wanted to expand our own college-bound culture. To initiate the program with parents, we had to connect them first with our family service workers. We first explained to them the purpose of the program, and we wanted to start with administering a preliminary assessment. This assessment is completed within the first 45 days of entry. Through this assessment, the family service worker gains insight about the parents, their perceptions of college. Have they ever considered college? Do they think it's important? Can they visualize themselves attending? We also wanted to know if they were first-generation students or not. And in our case, many of the times, they of course, were first-generation students. We want to assess their status in high school. Are they on target to graduate? We felt like this was very important because if they weren't not on target, then they needed that additional support. We wanted to know how many credits they needed, if they needed tutoring, and then we wanted to connect them to the necessary resources. Our ITP plan, this is an individualized transition plan. This is different from the child's transition plan. This is a parent-focused plan, and we have established career goals, and we also develop SMART ITP goals. I mean, it could be something as simple as helping the student identify when they need to talk to their school counselor about taking an exam, when they need to complete their financial aid papers, things like that. Transition activities. We do a number of different transition activities and services to support our families. We offer one-to-one transition sessions, and that's either with the family service worker as well as individuals from the local college. We also have FAFSA-trained staff and workshops. Access to computer labs, college tours, college resource sessions, We even have a college day event where we take a number of our parents to that event where a number of different colleges come together for a big fair. And one of the unexpected benefits that we saw with this program was our parent-to-parent connection. We found in just feedback from the students and parents that a lot of them gained a lot of support from one another. They helped each other transition. They went with each other to different meetings. So that was just an unexpected support benefit that we saw. We also, of course, want them, the biggest transition activity for the high school graduate is to graduate from high school, and then we wanted to see them be eligible for the $500 scholarship. Our next step for this program includes the addition of a vocational assessment just to help them with their interests and help the staff and the parents identify what their career interests are and strengths and abilities. We're also this summer planning for a more structured activities for the students to help them avoid summer melt. Summer melt is a concept that is common to first-generation students. It describes basically the steps that they take. They go through the process of getting accepted to college, they complete everything they need to do, and then in the fall they don't show up, okay? And so many people ask why, and so a lot of the feedback in studies is because they have family obligations, they lack the self-esteem, they don't feel confident about going to college, and they fear losing their social supports. We want to keep our parents actively engaged and increase their opportunities of attending college. And the last thing we want to do is we want to work on partnering with a local college to do some further research to help track these parents throughout their college experience or vocational program. And then the last slide. We're very proud of this slide and this picture. Basically what this picture represents is a collective outcome, and it is a culmination, it's a graduation ceremony, both with the children and the parents, and it represents both the school district, local college that we were partnering with, AVANCE staff, as well as our communities and schools. So thank you for this opportunity, and if there are any questions, take them.
Questions? Hands? You sure?
Okay.
All right, thank you both so much.